Hi, everybody. It's Sarah Cray with Let's Make Art. We have Michael here working the cameras.
Hello.
And we have my sister, Hannah.
Hello.
She's my little sister. Can you believe it? She's so much taller than me. Okay, so today we are doing our Bride of Frankenstein project. Ooh, yeah. Some of you may know that years and years ago, I did this Frankenstein project, which is so fun. It's on YouTube right now. I think I did it in 2018 or 2019. And for years, we have been getting requests to do the Bride of Frankenstein so they can be next to each other. And so today we are doing Bride of Frankenstein, okay?
2018, I wasn't even born yet.
I know. The colors that we are using are Dandelion Paint colors, lemon yellow, red, orchid, and Tahoe Blue. We put all of that written in the description as well as the link to the outline if you want to paint along with us, okay? We also have 3 paintbrushes, around 2, around 6, and around 12.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. It literally is two steps. We're going to paint it.
Okay.
Step 1.
Okay.
Step 2, splatter.
Okay.
That's it. Okay. Great.
Should we do it rhymes with schmoth?
Yeah, so if you can raise your right hand and repeat after me. I promise to be kind to myself.
I promise to be kind to myself.
I promise to be kind to myself.
I promise not to compare my work.
I promise not to compare my work.
And I promise to have fun.
And I promise to have fun.
Thank you. Okay. So we are going to start with doing the hair first. We're basically going to work our way from the top down. The fun thing about this project is I've kind of did it in like a rainbow coloring, but you can switch this to whatever coloring you want. And basically what we're doing is we're following just the shadows of her face. So I found a picture and I basically did a high contrast, which is then going to increase the highlights and the shadows, which is how we arrived here at this. So you can actually do this style with any photograph that you have of a person, which is really fun. So let's get into it, okay?
I love our 13-year-old daughter, Ella. Whenever she wakes up, it seems like she's waking up on a new planet. She's like surprised to be wherever she is. That's the look she has every time she wakes up.
Okay, let me actually show you Ella's face every time she wakes up. Okay, ready?
Yeah.
So I'm like, Ella, you need to wake up. And she goes...
She just...
Every single time I wake her up, that's how she wakes up. Like wide eyes, like looking around, like... Where were you just now? Like, how deep were you sleeping? It's one of my favorite things about her. Okay, so we're going to start with our larger brush because we're painting a larger hair area, her hair.
Her area.
Her area, if you will. And I am going to mix green on my palette by mixing together lemon yellow and our blue. So you're going to want to get your brush wet, hit it off the side of the cup so it's not super drippy. You're going to pick up the paint. Yeah, get a lot. And then we're just going to start at her hairline. And after you put in your initial stroke, you're going to wet your brush just with water. And then smear that paint all the way out to the edge of her hair at the top. Now you kind of have to use the very tip of your brush when you get close to like the little sides of her hair. If you are not familiar, Bride of Frankenstein has like these white chunks in the side of her hair. So we're not painting those. We're painting up to those. And it's okay if you get like texture or bloom because her hair is actually kind of like crazy, like super frizzy, curly. It's standing up, all of that kind of stuff. And so you can have crazy hair because she has kind of crazy hair. And the textures and the different colors that you're going to get are just going to add to it. Yep, keep going. And if you need to pick up more paint, you're welcome to pick up more paint. And then what I like to do when things are wet after I've like painted in is I'm going to go in and drop in like darker greens. And I'm kind of putting it in like a wavy kind of texture here. Just to kind of mimic like the movement of her hair. Okay. And for me, I like to be like kind of crazy with my hair color too. is I'm going to do just like straight yellow in some of it as well. Like I'm just picking up yellow and swooping that in. If you want to add salt during this period, you absolutely can. Yep. Yes. Very nice. And then if you want to too, you can do another, like Hannah, if you want yours to be a little bit, do you want yours to be darker? Do you like how light yours is?
I go for some dimension.
Okay, so what you're gonna want to do, is it okay if I paint on yours?
Yeah.
So we have some really light values, which is nice. And then kind of along the edges here, I'm gonna swoop in this kind of like darker, stronger color.
Okay.
And just kind of just let that fuzz out a little bit. But if you keep it to the sides, it's gonna make it seem like round. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Okay. And then I want, for like extra fun, I kind of want the back end of her hair to kind of start to turn turquoise. So I'm taking Azure Blue, and on the right-hand side and the left, so you see these sections right here, these are the white sections. So then underneath here are going to be the blue-green. So I'm going to like grab some more blue, mix that in with some of my green, and I'm going to paint those sections with this kind of blue-green color. And you want to fully like get your paintbrush saturated with this color. Yes. Yes. And then if you need like the smaller areas too, especially like along the edges of her hair, if you want to switch to a smaller brush, like a round 6 or a round 2, and do a few like loose strokes here to kind of like mimic the kind of hair curls coming out, you can. Sometimes it's harder to get those tiny strokes with the larger brush. So I'll just switch to my smaller brush. Yeah, get that wet. And then you can just pull the color that's already there and just kind of swoop it out.
Oh, so I don't want to dip it in more?
You can. You can either dip it in more or just pull from the color that's already there. Yep. Yeah, very nice. And you can even do that a little bit along the top as well too. Just a little bit like swoosh. And again, you guys can be like super crazy with color if you want to drop in just straight like yellows or blues or greens in her hair. Don't be afraid of the bloom. Don't be afraid of the texture that you're going to get, because it's just going to kind of add to it. Yep, very nice. Okay. Good job, Hannah. That's looking great. And now what we're going to do is we're going to paint in the white hair areas a little bit. So basically I'm going to be using the same paint colors that whatever I decided to use around the hair, I'm going to be using something similar. So on this left-hand side, I'm going to be using the blue mixed with a little bit of water. So it's like a lighter blue. So I'm going to take that. And then just where you see these kind of textures right here, I'm just going to kind of like use my round 6 and just follow those shapes a little bit, just to give a hint that there is like a little bit of dimension to the white hair. And then on the right-hand side, I'm going to start leaning into like a dark kind of purple look. So I'm going to mix together my azure and my red. No. My orchid and my red. Because that's going to give me like a more blue purple, you know what I mean? Instead of like a turquoisey color. So I'm going to take my azure and my orchid here, and using that color, I'm going to just follow the little stripes, which I forgot to trace on mine, but Hannah, I traced it on yours, so you're good. And I'm just going to eyeball mine. Yes, very nice.
Did I get all of them?
Yeah, I think you
With
did.
this little dangle right there.
So that dangle right there is actually her ear hole. So I want to try and make that a little bit darker. So I'm just going to mix like a really dark color, and you can by mixing basically all of the colors together. And I'm just going to kind of put that in there right there. Very nice. Okay, and then sometimes I like to just go in with my smaller brush and kind of tighten up these areas that it was tricky to get a thin line with my round 12. So I'm just kind of shaping it. And you'll see that sometimes the colors will like touch and bleed, but that's okay. Like we're not opposed to a little bit of bleeding, a little bit of mess. That's just gonna add to your painting, okay? So don't stress if it starts to kind of like just move around. The biggest thing is when you're going in and adding these kind of like extra colors is you don't want the colors that you're adding to be completely opposite sides of the color wheel, because if they do mix together, that's where you're going to get a little bit of muddy colors, which I'm not opposed to, okay? But like if I'm trying to put red detailing on top of this green wash, that's just going to turn brown. So if you want to keep the saturation going, you basically just want to think about the rainbow and make sure that the colors that are touching are next to each other on the rainbow. And if they're next to each other on the rainbow, then they're going to mix beautifully, okay? All right, so now what I'm gonna do is I'm going to take more yellow and I'm just gonna do kind of a softer wash on her forehead. So you can use your round 6, you can use your round 12. I'm gonna take this yellow and just kind of on the left-hand side here, I'm gonna do a swoop and then just use water to spread that color out. So I want to acknowledge the fact that she has lighting or shadow on her forehead, but I'm using yellow because I want it to be a little bit of like a lighter value. Yep. And then go all the way to that dashed line.
That's not your following.
Yeah.
Oops.
No, you're fine. Okay, now we get to do like the eyes, the nose, and the mouth. So the colors that I'm going for here, if you look at the reference, we're gonna start with like a really dark blue purple. And then as we work our way down, it's gonna turn to red for her mouth, okay? So I have some orchid here, I have some red here, and I have some blue here. So I'm gonna take all of those colors and use this, and I'm actually gonna mix some more. You wanna make sure that you have plenty of paint because we want these colors to be nice and dark. So we wanna make sure we're picking up lots of paint. And then using my round 6, or if you need to switch to a round 2 because it's a smaller brush, I'm going to paint. I'm gonna start with her eyebrows. Now, whenever you need to like, yes, very nice. And if you use the very tip of your brush, that's how you can get a thinner line. Yep. So I'm gonna do both eyebrows. Very nice. And then I'm gonna use that same color and I'm gonna go into her eyeballs. I'm gonna start on the left-hand side. Now, the area that we're gonna keep white is you see this really big triangle right there?
Mm-hmm.
That's the white of her eyes. Everything else is going to be painted. So I know that sometimes when you do these like shadow paintings, essentially is what I call them, or high contrast paintings, it can get confusing what areas you paint. So you can just look at the reference and go for it. The worst thing that can happen though is like it's just a piece of paper and you have to start over. So if it gets really wonky, it's not the end of the world. I don't want you guys to stress, okay? And I'm actually going to switch to my round 2 to do my eyelashes because my eyelashes got a bit funky. So I'm just going to move to my round 2 here. And then as I kind of work my way down on the rest of the face, I'm basically just going to be pulling color that's already there and maybe picking up a little bit of the purple or the blue, kind of whatever color you're going for. So it kind of just gives us a softer shadow shape. And remember, you can always layer watercolor too. So let's say that you put your eyelash in and it's very light and you want it to be darker. Okay, well then just go in with another layer of paint and you can paint right on top. And with watercolor, it's much easier to layer and darken than it is to lift and lighten. So if you are using like softer colors first, there is nothing wrong with that because then you can always like go back and darken it. Okay. And then I'm just going to keep moving down kind of the side of her face here. And again, if you accidentally like paint the wrong area, it's not the end of the world. Like people are like the hair alone is going to give away like who this person is. So I really don't want you to stress.
I was, because I don't know the difference between all the lines.
Yeah, don't stress. You're doing great.
I was going with vibes.
That's the way to paint, actually. Vibes. I just go off vibes. So I'm doing the top lip now, and then I'm going to start picking up some red. And there's like a white space in the middle of her lips. That's her teeth. And then you guys can decide if you want the red color to continue into her chin. It might look like blood. I'm not opposed to that. It is Halloween, but if you don't want it to look like blood, then try and keep the red color just on her lips and then move to a different color for her chin and jaw shadow. And to make her lips look extra like voluptuous, I'm going to take some purple and paint the edges of her lips this kind of darker purple and leave the bottom of her lip like a bright red. Because if you do those two values, it's going to create a sense of dimension. So whenever you want to paint something that's rounded, the edges are going to be a darker value, and then in the middle, it's going to be a lighter value. And value is like the lightness or darkness of a color. So this is like a light value, and this is a dark value, right? So whenever we have those two different values, what we're saying is that the light is hitting the area that's coming out towards us, and then the light is going away from, or it's farther away from the things that are going away from us. And that's how you can communicate the shape of something or the form of something, is just by the value of it, okay? Now I also have the right eyeball here too that I'm going to go in and paint because I have not painted that yet. And then Hannah, yours is looking good. You're going to want to paint in,
The eye area.
the
Got it.
eye area right here. So you're going to finish that painting around those two tiny circles.
Okay. Or you can do it for me.
I'm just like overtaking her painting. This is why I don't paint with my kids, because I end up just being like, let me just paint this for you.
Fix that.
Let me just. And they're like, Mom, and I'm like, okay. Okay, and then the right-hand side, now there's one note I want to say is if you want it to look like how we were talking the wide eyes, you want to make sure that there is white all around the top of this circle, okay? If they're touching, she's just going to look not as surprised, which is fine. It's just going to kind of take away from that kind of like, look, you know what I'm saying? So in order to really capture that surprised look, you need to make sure that there's white all along the right, the top, and the left side, and then it's touching the bottom, okay? And that's how you can capture the surprise look. And I'm using my round 2 because these are really tiny areas. Michael, have you ever seen the movie?
Young Frankenstein?
Yeah.
Yes.
I don't know if I have.
Oh my gosh, it's a classic.
I know. I feel like in my memory, I feel like I've heard you talk about it, but I don't know if I've ever actually.
I think it's a Mel Brooks movie. He's hilarious.
Oh, like Willy Wonka? Is that who Mel Brooks is?
No, that's
Gene
Glenn. That's Gene
Wilder.
Wilder.
That's Gene Wilder.
Gene Wilder is in Young Frankenstein. It's
Yes.
Frankenstein.
Frankenstein. Maybe we should watch it with our kids.
All right.
Very nice. Yes. Very cool. Okay.
So I do paint dark around the circle though.
Yeah, you just don't want the top of the circle to be touching the top of her eyelash line. So even though your outline is kind of touching it, try and move that whole circle down a little bit so it's touching the bottom lashes.
You know what I'm going to say?
What?
If you can't get it right, just pop some googly eyes on it. Call it a day.
That's right. Michael's a big fan of googly eyes.
I just think they bring a lot to anything you put them on. You know what I mean?
They do. They really do.
They do more work than their little body, like an ant. You know, ants can lift a lot. Googly eyes also.
Okay, actually, years ago, this is funny. Back when Let's Make Art had a lot of employees and we all worked in the office together, there was this girl, Taylor, she's done a couple tutorials with me. She's an amazing artist.
Yeah.
Colored pencils is her kind of forte. And she did this joke in the office where she put googly eyes on everything within the office. So like on paintbrushes, on the toilet, on the sink, on jars, and it was hilarious. Okay, so I'm just kind of going in and taking a little bit of a lighter color to do her nostril and the side of her nose here a little bit.
I most recently made a wild purchase on Amazon.
Yeah.
It was a pack of stickers that said voice activated, and you could just like put them on all of the appliances, like around the office, put it on the coffee machine. And so people just be like, make coffee, yelling at the coffee machine.
That would be really funny if it was more than just like me and you working here. We kind of know. We know how things work here.
I think I could still get you.
Yeah, you probably could.
Put one on the bathroom door. You're like, open.
Yeah. And then I would call you and be like, Michael, it's not working. Yes, Hannah, that looks great.
I've realized that you do kind of have to look at the lines. You can't just paint over them.
Just a little bit. But honestly, I feel like this is giving like David Bowie, which is pretty awesome a little bit.
Yeah, I'm two different makeup styles going on here, but I like it.
It feels right for Bride of Frankenstein, I want to say.
A little chaotic.
Yeah.
But that's accurate.
It is. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to do the bottom half, which is her clothing part, and it's kind of like my favorite part. I'm going to switch to a larger brush. And this is where we're really going to play with like a colorful wash. So on the right-hand side, I'm going to kind of start painting red right here and have it be like red, yellow, orange. And then the yellow is going to bleed to green, blue, purple over here. So it's like a full rainbow. Now, again, you can switch the colors to whatever you want. Just remember, we want the colors to blend in with each other in a way that's not going to create brown. Unless you like brown, then you can do that. So I'm going to start with red. I'm going to follow and actually I'm going to use a liner for this. I mean my round 2. So I'm going to use my round 2. I'm going to follow the edge of her jaw here and go down her neck. And then I'm going to switch to my larger brush and start doing a couple strokes of red. And then this is where we get kind of fun and playful, is using my larger brush. I'm going to smear this red down with lots of water, just letting that color kind of bloom and move on its own. And then when it's wet like this, I'm going to grab some fresh yellow. Try not to get it to touch like a green or anything, fresh yellow, and just touch the yellow into the red portion, letting it kind of bleed and move on its own. So we want it to be really like loose and bloomy and playful. And you can do like just using the side of your larger brush and swooshing in paint colors and kind of just letting that color bleed out is where the fun is going to be. And then I'm going to keep moving that yellow across to the left. And at this point, I'm going to start bringing in green. So I'm just going to touch green into that yellow, letting it move. Yeah. And don't forget to use the water to kind of let the color spread out, be drippy, create texture, all of that kind of fun stuff.
And I need a ton more water.
Yeah. Like really rinse your brush. Hit it off just like once or twice, and then like use that water just to kind of like spread and move. Yeah. Here, let me get you. I'm just gonna, you can even do something like this. Boop, boop, boop. And then just spread that. Yeah. And now I'm going to take blue. Because I've already done my green. So now I'm going to touch that blue into the green. And again, just kind of let that bleed around, do its thing. And after blue, we're going to use some Orchid. Letting it just touch, and then using a lot of water to kind of just smear it down. Now this point, it's getting a little bit scary here because my green is coming over here by my purple. And instead of freaking out, I'm just going to say, all right, I'm just not going to touch that area anymore. I'm just going to like let that kind of do its thing. And if you want it to be drippy, you can create drips by taking your round 6 and just kind of like going straight down. Or you can force the drips if you have like a little bit of a puddle going on your paper. What you do is you just take your paper and you stand it up and you knock it down. And now my whole bottom is drippy. You see that?
Me too,
Which one's
man.
the Orchid?
That purple one. Yep. Yes. Yes. Very nice. Very nice. And then do you want drippy?
Sure.
Okay, so I'm going to get yours a little bit more wet because then it will like drip really nice. So I'm just going to boop, 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 boop. And then like boop, 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 boop. And then we lift it up.
Nice.
And now we have some drips.
Excellent.
Okay. Now what we're going to do, since we're like mostly done with this, is we get to do some kind of finishing touches. So one thing that I want to add is there's like a strong shadow here. So I'm going to grab some like purple and like the corner of this chest. I'm going to put that in there, and a strong shadow here. You can do like a dark blue if you want, just to show that there's a little bit of depth. You don't even have to put that in if you don't want, but sometimes it's fun just kind of like layering it. And then you're going to get these really cool textures and blooms. Again, don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to the point that even if you wanted to like splatter just some like water drops in here to get some funky textures, like if yours is looking too smooth, sometimes I like to just drop in water just to get some funky textures, because now look what's happening there. You know what I'm saying? So don't be afraid. Don't be afraid of the water. Don't be afraid of like making a mess. Okay? Now, the last thing I want to do, okay, we have 2 more things. I'm going to go in and do some darker areas on her hair, and then I'm just going to splatter some splatters. And that's like it. And so for the hair, this is completely optional, but sometimes just adding like a little bit of shadow or form to it can make it kind of pop. So I'm going to take some dark green or some dark blue, and I'm just going to add like kind of a wavy kind of squiggliness here. So notice that when I do my wavy and squiggliness, I'm kind of doing it like across her hair. Yes. And then I just really like the yellow, so I'm just going to drop some yellow straight in there. And then I'm just going to darken up underneath and the sides of her hair. I don't know. I feel like her forehead needs to have another kind of swoosh. Do I want it warmer or cooler? Let's go with warmer. I'm going to do more yellow. Okay. And we can also even darken some of the hair texture as well. And whenever things are feeling just a little bit too clean and nice, I like to take a damp brush and using just water, just kind of smear things out just a little bit. Just like mess it up a little bit. Okay. And just some hair textures if you want that.
I like the sound of the paintbrush on the glass.
Yeah, isn't that nice? It's a little ding, ding, ding. Okay. Oh yeah, that's looking good. That's looking real good. Let's do this little guy a little bit darker. So basically I'm putting in a little bit darker values on the areas where there's like really, really strong shadow, because even though we want this to be kind of like rainbow and crazy, when you kind of focus on those details of dimension a little bit, it just makes your artwork pop a little bit more. Yeah, very nice. And then Hannah, what I'm going to do on yours too is I'm just going to acknowledge that like this area is going to be a little bit darker because it's like the edge of her nose, like the other side of her nose a little bit. Like that. Yep. You can even go make that go down a little bit. There we go. We can darken that. Very nice. Boop, boop. Okay. Now, our very last step is we are going to add splatters. Now, this is up to you, but for me, I didn't want any splatters on her face because I didn't want it to come across as like a lot of moles. There's nothing wrong with a lot of moles, but I just thought like, I want it to be clear that her face is kind of like clear. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to take a paper towel. You can use a piece of paper like anything. And if your painting is mostly dry, which mine is, I'm just going to I'm folding up my paper towel, covering her face. I'm going to pick up my round 12. Yes, perfect. Now grab your round 12, get it nice and wet. Pick up whatever color you want the paint splatters to be. I'm going for green. And then I'm just going to grab my other brush and hit my paintbrush on and let the splatters splatter. And I'm also going to do yellow because I love a yellow-green color and I feel like that's kind of the theme for her. So I'm going to grab yellow and do some yellow splatters. And if they land within your colorful clothing or hair, that's not a big deal. It's totally fine.
Try not to get them on your regular clothing or hair.
Yeah. No promises, though.
Excellent.
Yes. Yes. Very nice. Okay, and then you lift up. Oh, and we have our cool, funky rainbow Bride of Frankenstein. How do you feel about it?
I think it's turned out surprisingly better than I thought.
That's great. That's what I like to hear. So anyways, that's this project. Super fun. If you want to try the Frankenstein one, that's on YouTube. You can paint along to that as well. And you would have a fun little Halloween pairing decoration that you can have up every single year. We have the outline again in the description. And you, of course, can use whatever the supplies you have or you want. But we have them listed in the description as well if you want to use exactly what we're using. Hannah, you did a fantastic job. Thank you for painting with me. She's never painted projects before. She sat down. She's like, this is the first time I'm painting one of your projects. I'm like, Hannah, I've been doing this for 7 years. Are you serious?
I have my own hobbies.
And Michael, always a pleasure. Thanks for being here. Thank you guys. I hope you had fun, and we'll see you next time. Bye.